I think, Doug, you're going to be first, aren't you, and kind of an introduction?
Yes. Low.
Let's use that. Sorry.
All right. Okay. So I am a native of Wythe County. I'm a pastor and attorney, both retired. I'm a husband, a father, a grandfather. I'm home in Williamsburg, run the campaign out of Wythe County where I stay. My wife is from Buchanan County. She's over there a lot because her parents are not well. And our intention is to move to Washington County near Abingdon where they own property. So after the 2024 election, or before the 2024 election, I think the country was in good shape. We were moving in the right direction. Things that weren't right were headed that way. And when Donald Trump got elected, I was disappointed, but my thinking was, if he'll just play golf for 4 years, everything will be fine. But he didn't do that. He didn't do anything to make anything better. Actually, everything he's done has been to make things worse. But we are still standing. America is still standing, and Democrats are still standing up. We're standing up in Congress, but we can't get anything passed because of Republicans. You're standing up here, you're standing up when you protest, when you march, when you vote, when you run for office, when you lead, and when you come out to an event like this or tune into it by Facebook. So what we're asking Republicans to do is to help America grow up. Getting older, we're in our 250th year. Getting older is easy. Growing up is hard. We need them to help us out. Now, a vote for Morgan Griffin, a vote for Morgan, is a vote for less than what you deserve, what you expect, and what I would provide. So, thank you.
All right, good morning, guys. Is this mic working? Can you guys hear it? No?
Not working.
Okay.
Hey, she needs some light down here.
I did turn it on and it turned green. It's just still not. I heard the dad's here. That's
Must be one of your dogs.
Do we have an IT guy in the room? Somewhere.
We can pass the mics if we need to.
Okay, you got something?
Try again.
Let's try this. Awesome. Well, good evening, guys. It's great to be with you. I am Joy Powers. I am one of your primary candidates to unseat Morgan Griffith, and so it is so exciting to be someone who has been raised here in rural Virginia and to watch people like Morgan Griffith win again and again. But to see this room full tonight, to see 3 candidates up here, that's a good thing. So to tell you a little bit about myself, I am Joy Powers. I grew up in Bedford County. My family's been there for a few centuries. And we are a cattle family. So I'm a 4th generation cattle farmer. Before that, we raised tobacco. And this is coal and cattle country. And so something that I know is that politicians a lot of times don't understand our way of life here. And so for me, I, again, like Mr. Crockett, was moved after the November 2024 election. I never thought I would be up here in front of you guys. But what drove me to run for public office was because I realized that we don't have leadership that looks like, that understands, and that is from Southwest Virginia, advocating for Southwest Virginia. And that is why our problems continue to get worse. And so let me be really clear, we are in a moment of national crisis and we cannot water that down. But we also have to be very, very focused on what we can do to triage this district, because we have real concerns and real issues that are unique to this district and need real legislative priorities, and that's what I can give you.
Hello.
It looks like it was a good idea to take the handheld mic, wasn't it? So hey everybody, thank you all for being here. A very special thank you to the Carroll County Democrats and the Galax Young Democrats and everybody else who helped put this event together. It means a whole lot for you all to be here. Thank you. My name is Adam Murphy, Democratic candidate for Virginia's 9th District, and I'm happy to be here with you all today. I announced my candidacy for Congress in June of 2025, visiting all 23 counties and 5 independent cities of our district. It covers about 20% of the landmass of Virginia. It's a massive, massive area and a lot of ground to cover. Each and every community has its own vibe, history, and challenges that weave together in a common thread. The cost of living is out of control, whether that be groceries, healthcare, housing, or energy. We need to bring tons more quality jobs here in this district so that way everybody can live a dignified life here, right here in Southwest Virginia. All of these problems are caused by a system that neglects everyday Americans, that helps focus on making the rich richer or massive corporations while everyday Americans are left to fall through the cracks. My family and I know firsthand what it's like to have a family legacy destroyed by medical bills or housing costs. We are building a grassroots movement here. To not beholden to any donor, I publicly affirm that I do not take any corporate, billionaire, or foreign interest money because I do not want those strings on me. We are forging a vision for the best possible American future. When the American people get united, as they did at the start of this nation, there is nothing that can stop us from achieving that future. This will take all of the people of Southwest Virginia standing up and demanding with one unified voice for that better tomorrow. I'm asking that you join me in that fight, and together we will create that vision to build a future we all deserve. Thank you.
Our first question will be read by Robert Laws.
First question. First question. First question. How would you make health care or health insurance affordable for Virginia families?
And we're going to try this lapel mic. How does that sound, guys? Good? Yeah. Great. This is a great question. Ooh, this is a great question in Southwest Virginia, and one of those issues that we can't shy away from. So first and foremost, we have to go through and we have to refund Medicaid. Those cuts are absolutely going to cause major harm. So we have to triage this problem first. So we first address that. Then the second thing, we can go in and we can readjust the Medicare payments options to make rural doctors and practitioners more profitable. You know, just today we were hearing about how practitioners here in this community, almost all of them are reaching retirement age. What's going to happen when that happens? You know, we have a void of doctors. So one thing that I am very passionate about, and as part of our home plan, our legislative priority, is actually to refocus the medical residency program. So actually, interestingly enough, Congress is what funds and controls our medical residents all across the country. And so if we were to actually go through and we don't have to restart and recreate a whole new program. If we can go through and actually legislate that program better to reward our physicians for staying in communities like this, we're going to stop losing practitioners to Ballard Health in Abington. Because practitioners want to stay in communities like this, but they just can't afford to. And then third and foremost, and this is certainly not least, we have to start making serious moves towards universal health care. That has to be a basic tenet for any Democratic candidate moving forward, is we have to believe in universal health care for all. And that's just the start. Thanks.
So healthcare is a human and an American right. I have been all throughout Southwest Virginia going to federally qualified community health centers where they often provide mental, medical, vision, and dental, often all at the same facility. We need to take the greed incentive out of our system, and using that model, we need to expand access all throughout the 9th District. No one should have to drive hours for care. Our rural hospitals should not be at risk of closing. You shouldn't be able to lose your home due to medical costs or sacrifice your retirement for medical bills. It can be as simple as your doctor telling you, here's what you want, here's what you need, and you simply get that care. No one should have to choose between life-saving medication and their home. My grandfather and my father ended up losing the Murphy Centennial Farm simply due to getting $500,000 in medical debt. No more deductibles, no more premiums, no more medical debt. And under Medicare for All, everyone in Southwest Virginia gets the health care that they deserve.
The best direction, can you hear me? Okay, still. The best direction to make healthcare more affordable is to first elect a reasonable Democrat in the 9th District. What has happened in Congress is not reasonable. There's no explanation for it. Cut Medicaid to give tax breaks to the millionaires doesn't make any sense. To not extend the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act doesn't make any sense. There's no reason for it. And so the Affordable Care Act was working. It had reduced the uninsured from 14% down to 8%. People up to 400% of the federal poverty level were covered. Once they put the enhanced subsidies in, that took out the 400% barrier, and people above that were covered. Now they've taken the subsidies away. That's going to make about, let's say, 5,000 more people uninsured to add to the 10,000 who were not uninsured, or who were uninsured. Those people who were uninsured were in states where they had not extended Medicaid. That was by choice. It was undocumented immigrants who were not getting coverage, despite what the Republicans were saying. And so what I would do is I would want to support and expand the Affordable Care Act. The total cost of Medicare, Medicaid, and subsidies together is $1.5 trillion, which is a lot less than what Medicare for All would be. And I don't want to pay for the wealthy to have insurance. They can pay their own way. Medicare for All means I'm paying taxes to support their health insurance. They can pay for it on their own.
Okay, second question, on data centers, Clark Fincher.
Hey guys, my name is Clark Fincher. Been a practicing veterinarian here for 37 years in this town. First, I'm going to say it's great to see such an enthusiastic crowd here in Galax and Carroll County. It's also nice to have candidates running against our ghost representative. I'm proud to have all of you, whoever we run against him, it's going to be a wonderful candidate. We're looking forward to that. So my dad moved our family here in the mid-60s, a strong Democratic family. All I ever heard was Bill Wampler, William Wampler. I don't know who remembers that little mold here. How are we going to beat Bill Wampler? And as a kid, like I'm hearing all these things, and all of a sudden we got a strong young man out of the Abingdon area by the name of Rick Boucher. Yeah. Rick came in and showed us that the Friday night we can be Democratic. We can defeat Republicans here. And so Rick, unfortunately, got ousted by the anti-Obama wave, and we're again stuck with our ghost representative for the last 16 years. But we can be Democratic again. Guys, if we stand in unity together and with strong candidates, we can become Democratic again. I promise you that way. So my question at this point is about data centers. I knew it was going to come up. So large data centers have been recently springing up all across Virginia, as well as many other states in the United States. These centers have led to increased power costs for local residents, as well as elevated property taxes and much strain on older infrastructure, such as roads, water lines, and sewer systems. These centers may claim to employ lots of people, but when the center's actually built, the employment is drastically reduced. We all know it's drastically reduced on that. My wife and I recently bought our forever home in Carroll County, rolling hills, nice landscapes, and everything like that. We all know that Carroll County is like the Wild West when it comes to zoning. So we're all worried every single day that one of these centers may just pop up across the street from us with their false promises of increased employment, decreased taxes for the area, and much needed infrastructure improvements. So my question is, as a candidate and possibly a future representative of everyone in this room, what things should be done to ensure people are aware of the economic risks and benefits, as well as the environmental impacts, especially to our vital power and water resources in this area, as well as the rest of the 9th District? Thank you.
So we need to demand full transparency when local areas are considering agreements for data centers. Our team is constantly researching information on the data centers so that we are intimately understanding the challenges going to our district, and we are fighting them all throughout the district, whether that be in Wise, with Botetourt. I heard there's one potentially in Patrick County. As a software engineer, I have a unique perspective, a unique skill set to be able to understand this issue. There should be federal requirements that data centers have to pay 100% of costs, have citizen involvement on any dialogue before any development starts, and have sound water and air quality checks, as well as independent environmental studies to determine the impact. No local government should be forced into an NDA, period. Communities need to be fully aware of the whole impact of having a data center, whether that includes job loss or an environmental impact. The whole picture must be made transparent for any community to agree to one, and I believe that if they were, some communities would choose them, but the vast majority of them, I believe, would reject it because these are done under the table, not transparently, and the local community has no idea what they're getting into.
So in order to foster an informed population about data centers, we need to elect a responsible Democrat in the 9th District. What's happening is irresponsible. Data centers can be built a lot faster than power plants. And so what's happening is there's this race, and Donald Trump and the Republican Congress, they're trying to accelerate data centers being built. He's put out his plan, his action plan for data centers, which puts them on the fast track. And so what we're headed toward is we're on a collision course. So the more, if we can keep up with power plants, we're going to destroy the environment because we're going to be using fossil fuels to do that. If we can't keep up, we're going to destroy the grid. So we're going to have blackouts and brownouts and that sort of thing because we're going to overload the grid. So in Congress, I would support what has been introduced, which is the Clean Cloud Act. Introduced by John Fetterman with Pennsylvania, who I don't agree with him a lot of stuff. It's a little strange. But on this, and also a Rhode Island Democrat, White House, they introduced this act, the Clean Cloud Act. And I agree with what John Fetterman said about it. He said, we can't let tech innovation come at the expense of clean air and water Pennsylvanians rely on, and Virginians rely on. So what that act does is it sets standards for emissions from data centers, and it also sets fee rates for them to pay for their electricity. So I think that would go some way toward that. NDAs, that's something more for state government. State government would have to decide something like that on most of the data centers.
Well, this is a great question to go last on because I can say what they said, right? Because I think that most of us in this room probably agree that there has to be some oversight into this data center boom that we're seeing. I love the way you put it because it's a phrase that I've used. It is literally the Wild West out here when it comes to these counties with lack of zoning laws. And here's the thing is they are aggressively pursuing this. They are not coming to Wick County. They are not coming to Carroll County on accident. They're coming with intentionality. And so, one of the issues that we have to be able to have as Democrats is how do we talk to Republicans across the aisle about this? Because if you want to talk to some Republicans and get them fired up, let's talk about property rights, guys. All right? So when we're talking about zoning and CV9 and we talk about, why we need these protections from data centers, we have to make sure that we can have those conversations. The other thing is I think that when we present consumers, we present ratepayers and taxpayers with the data. Glenn Youngkin and what the Virginia General Assembly did and the Virginia Republicans did by creating these tax breaks. That is why Virginia is the data center capital of the world. It is because they are incentivized to come here. And so first, although this isn't what we're talking about here, like Mr. Crockett said, there's a lot of these things that have to happen at the state level. So you guys have to say on your state legislatures about this. Both parties across the aisle. Again, we have to have reform. But as far as in Congress, what we can do, President Trump, did you guys hear that he has asked the companies to pledge to pay their own way? Right. That was his solution, the pledge. So we actually need a law. So we need to pass legislation that says that they must pay their own way. You and I cannot continue to pay for their infrastructure improvements. And when we start to even the playing field and create fairer rules, we're going to start to see that move slow. That's what we need.
Okay. Third question from Brandy Royal.
Hi. The current administration has launched military strikes in violation of both the Constitution and the War Powers Resolution without consulting Congress. Meanwhile, Representative Griffith has said and done nothing. What specific actions will you take in Congress to reassert legislative authority over the use of the military force?
All right, so to reassert legislative authority over use of the military, yes, we need to elect a responsive Democrat. And I think that intentionally. I mean, not to have commented on this war is just not, I mean, it's like somebody needs to go with paddles and say, clear, because it's not responsive. People, life, death, the Constitution, law, truth, criminality, none of that moves him. None of that gets him to speak, to say anything. I mean, it's just, you need somebody who is responsive. And, we need to be responsive. I would support, there is a resolution in Congress to stop the war, to tell the president. So what we have is a constitution which says that the president is the commander-in-chief of the military, but it also says that Congress declares war. So there's some overlap. So the president has some authority, but we have a president who, he's not the first to have done something like this, but he is the worst. I mean, people are dying, 170 school children killed, 7 soldiers from our military, 50,000 military are committed to this. Sailors from Iran left at sea by our military when they sunk them from a sub, which could be a war crime. So I would support that resolution. I would also support changing the wording of the War Powers Act. The War Powers Act, what it does, it gives the president authority in a national emergency. You can interpret that about any way. So what I would suggest is that we say, instead of until Congress says you can, you have this much money, President, here's your allowance. When that's used up, no more money. Your war stops until Congress approves it.
It's been extremely disappointing, and it's sad to continue to be disappointed by Morgan Griffith, but this one was actually another level of disappointment. We in Southwest Virginia, we send a lot of our neighbors, our sons, our daughters, our granddaughters, our grandsons into the military. And that's something that cannot be taken lightly. To hear Donald Trump casually say, well, there's going to be deaths. That should have made every member of Congress show up and ready to get to work, and it did not. It made them fall in line. So again, a lot of the power, the authority the president is using right now, again, is from the War Powers Act, like Mr. Talkett said. That is legislation that was introduced after 9/11 in order to keep us safe. That legislation has then been misused and abused all over the world to commit these atrocities. We are seeing a girls' school. It was not bombed, it was double tapped, guys. That means that they bombed the school with children, and then they bombed 40 minutes later to make sure they got whoever came to save the survivors. That's what the United States government did, and that is what Congress is setting silent on right now. We have got to rein in that legislation and that power, because the Constitution is not the gray area. The power to go to war belongs solely to Congress. And it is not just in the past year that we've lost that power. It has been a slow process, but it is time for us to make a strong stand for our American people.
So no one person should decide where we strike on the map. It is the mandate of Congress to determine where U.S. forces, where and when they are activated. Full stop. We do need to rein in these emergency acts. Military should not be deployed just because it's been declared an emergency, ever. Our country was founded on checks and balances. We fought a revolution against a monarch who had a complete central authority to do whatever they wanted. And our founding fathers saw it fit, wisely, to split those responsibilities up. It is the mandate of Congress to determine how the U.S. military should ever be used. And in Congress, I would work to immediately end this war in Iran, to make sure the conflict in Venezuela never happened, and bring these so that we no further conflicts spark and drag us further into a forever war. We don't want this. This is not what the American people need at this moment in time. We need a Congress that's willing to stand up and fight against it.
Okay, the next question was from Janet Evans, talking about constitutional violations.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of my constitutional rights being violated. We have no privacy anymore. DOJ, Department of Homeland Security, they've come up with every excuse in the book to get our private information. They say it's because they want to find immigrants who are here, violent immigrants who are here illegally. Then why do they need my private information? Most of us born and raised in this area, or at least inside the borders of the United States. Our technology has violated our privacy, and our president has encouraged it, not just said okay, but encouraged it to happen. My question, what needs to be done to improve these protections in the future?
This is something that we all should be terrified of, and it's more pressing now than ever. Last week, I believe it was, we saw the billionaire CEO of a tech company had to be the moral authority and stand up to President Trump, because President Trump and Pete Hegseth wanted his AI company to be able to surveil American citizens and to be able to kill without human authority. So with that, the United States president, and he blackmailed and bullied this man and tried to push him into forcing that technology to be used against us in that way. We cannot continue to let technology evolve faster than our laws are evolving. And so we have to go and put laws in place that say we do not want technology. We should not allow any type of technology that allows to kill human beings in the United States or to be used without human interaction. To take a life by AI, are you kidding me? So we have to rein that in. But we also, we have to make sure that we have safeguards in place. And these are, like we said, like the Bill of Rights. We're at the point now we need a digital Bill of Rights because this is a whole new world. And this isn't just about, AI and Doge and the information that you steal. I watched that young man's deposition that stole all that. It was infuriating to watch him so callously talk about betraying Americans like that. We need justice for people who violate that, but we need laws in place ahead of time to make sure when that happens that we can actually hold those people accountable. And right now we don't have them.
So the American people, they deserve privacy, including digital privacy, and we will guarantee that through a 21st century amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Privacy is supposed to be a fundamental right in our Constitution that is guaranteed, but has been constantly under siege. Southwest Virginia has suffered from the extraction of our resources, from coal to timber to ultimately our people. We will not offer up our personal data to greedy corporations or corrupt governance. From facial recognition, digital footprints, health privacy, every single person in Southwest, every single American is at risk of losing their privacy forever. In Congress, I will make sure that your privacy is never violated again by getting that 21st century amendment passed. Thank you.
To improve our data privacy protections, we need to elect a realistic Democrat. And by realistic, I mean that it is important that we have public safety. It is important that we have national security. So it's important that law enforcement has the ability to enforce the law. But there are two problems, though, that we have now. One is that they don't know who the criminals are. And the other is that they violate people's privacy. They violate privacy, they skirt the Fourth Amendment. The Supreme Court has decided that the information in your cell phone, the identifying information, is private. You have to have a warrant for that. However, what they do is they collect information from your phone that is anonymized information. So it doesn't actually identify who you are, but they have other tools. They can bring those to bear upon that information that they get, and they can pretty quick tell who you are. They can track you. They can know who's in a group of protesters. And so that is a problem. They violate their own internal policies. So there are policies at DHS that would prevent that, but they violate those policies. And so I agree, what needs to happen is, but the other thing is they don't know who the criminals are. Criminals are not 6-year-old children. Criminals are not people who go to work every day and come home to take care of their family. Those are not criminals. Criminals are not people who show up at court because they get a traffic ticket. Criminals are not people who go to their immigration appointment and then get deported. Okay, so I would support an amendment to protect digital information. States have those, and we can do it in this country. In the country. And what that would do also provide a private right of action to where we would be able to sue the government, which would give us some power, which they have in the states. And it would also shift the burden. Instead of the burden being on me to prove that they did something wrong, the burden would be on them to prove that they didn't. Sorry about that.
Okay, and the next question on immigration, Cheryl Fallon.
Given the importance of immigration for many citizens of this country, given the importance of immigration as a political issue and as a real issue for many Americans, what sort of immigration policies would you support?
So we are a nation of immigrants. We all came here from somewhere. I myself am a fifth generation Irish immigrant, and diversity has always been the United States' strength. ICE has been given $75 billion for funding to essentially build concentration camps. They're better funded than our own Marines. We shouldn't be putting these barriers between our people. We should be building bridges to our shared future. That money should be going to support our communities like Southwest Virginia. And that is why I ultimately, personally support abolishing ICE. Effective immigration controls can be done way cheaper, way more efficiently, where we respect people's constitutional rights and their human rights. As well as, imagine, $75 billion dedicated to ICE. Imagine what $1 billion of those dollars would do for all of Southwest Virginia.
What immigration policies would I support? That we elect in the 9th district a righteous Democrat. And by righteous, I don't mean Christian. I don't mean religious in a righteous way. But righteousness has to do with faith, right? No matter what religion or what you believe. You believe in something. For the life of me, I can't figure out what hardcore Trumpers, which is most of the Republican Party, believe. What do they believe in? I have no idea. They call themselves things, but I couldn't tell it by the way they act. Donald Trump has violated constitutional norms. He wants to get rid of due process for poor people. He wants to get rid of birthright citizenship. He's violated statutory norms. So he he's violated just humanitarian norms. The statutory norms of the 1980 Refugee Act. The only refugees we're letting in are Afrikaners, white Afrikaners from South Africa, who he claims are being tormented over. He's violated just humanitarian ones. We have people he's trying to get rid of from Haiti. And he's also violated, just tear down the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. Donald Trump is saying, just send them back. What on earth do they believe in? I have no clue. He violates it all and they don't stand up and say anything. We should go right back to where we were before he was elected. Democrats and Republicans had come together. They were ready to pass the Emergency National Security Supplemental Appropriations Act, the immigration bill. They had agreed on it. Trump stepped in at your expense, at American expense. So what we have is a House of Representatives and a Senate who are up there earning a salary and doing nothing. They've handed it all over to Donald Trump.
All right, well first, I don't want to mince my words when I say this. We have to abolish ICE as it stands today. It is a broken organization that will never hold the trust of the With that being said, we do need an effective border control. We need safe borders, and we know that. All reasonable people know that. Democrats know that, regardless of what Republicans say. But what we also know is that our immigration system has been broken for a very long time. I remember it was 2011. I was in a communications class at Virginia Tech, and we were doing this roundtable on immigration. And we had to take positions on illegal immigration, and nobody would take the pro position for illegal immigration. And so I said, fine, I'll volunteer to do it. And so what I did was I went through and I looked at what our average grocery bills would be if we didn't have and we didn't depend on the service and the labor of illegal immigrants. It is ridiculous, guys. Back in 2012, the projection was that a gallon of milk, if we just eliminated illegal immigrants alone, that a gallon of milk would be raised to $12 a gallon. A bushel of apples would double, and that was, again, before Trump just blew up our tariffs and world market, all right? So here's the thing, and this is what I firmly believe, is we have to fix our immigration system in a way that actually works for our immigrant laborers in a dignified way, because it has been broken for decades, right? So that is the start is abolishing ICE. The second part is actually doing this the right way, and that way it serves our immigrant laborers that, like we said, we depend on it. And it's not just our farm workers, guys. Our healthcare network is dependent on immigrant labor.
Clarification?
Yeah. So just a quick on abolishing ICE. I mean, the Immigration Act that both sides of Congress agreed on didn't do that. And, so what it did do was things that we would all, I think, agree on. It shut down the border once the number of people coming in got to 5,000 on a day. It would, asylum claims, screen those and deal with them within months instead of years. Get people within 100 miles of the border rather than having them come right to the border if there was going to be a removal process. It increased the detention capacity, increased the number of Border Patrol agents. So it dealt with the issue without abolishing ICE. So I'm not sure that that's the proper way to go. That's abolishing things is things Republicans do. They know how to tear things down. They don't know how to build anything. I think we could keep it and make it better instead of just saying we're just going to get rid of it altogether. So.
Can I respond to that?
So ICE was founded in 2003. It was not how we enforced immigration in this country for a very long time. Democrats have failed with this sometimes as well, as they've increased ICE's budget year after year as well. When we talk about being efficient with immigration, you could have solved the entire immigration problem with, again, just one of those of the $75 billion that ICE got by hiring 10,000 immigration judges.
Yes.
And we could have cleared the entire backlog within a year or two. We can do this humanely. We can do this efficiently. And ICE has shown when U.S. citizens die that we should not allow an organization like that to persist as it is. We still should have immigration enforcement, absolutely, sure, but just not ICE, the organization.
And I guess since I'll rebuttal as well. And I actually remember, when we all probably remember when that bipartisan legislation immigration was introduced, that was the proper option at that time because ICE hadn't turned into glorified Proud Boys harassing our neighbors. Okay? There's no way that anyone with an ICE shirt will ever be trusted in this country again, and that is why that organization has to cease to exist.
Okay, thank you all very much. Now we're to some questions that were submitted for the folks in the audience. First one of those, will you tax the rich at an appropriate rate?
Yes. Our income tax system has been fairly malleable. In times of crisis, the highest rate has gone up, and not so much in times of we're pretty much, I would say, today in a crisis. The deficit is ridiculous. It's supposed to, I forget about the number, $47 trillion, and like a third of that will be attributed to Donald Trump's 8 years. Something has to be done, and I think it's appropriate at this time that we increase taxes. Appropriate is a good word. I'm not sure what that amount would be right now with Medicare, or with the Affordable Care Act, it's 41%. Without the Affordable Care Act, it's 38%, it's the highest bracket. As I heard Mr. Murphy say at our last forum, at one point I think it was 90%. Somebody suggested, one of the presidents suggested 100%. So it has been increased in World War II, and so, yeah, I would be for that.
All right, so I think this is one of those great times to talk about messaging, right? So we talk about tax the rich. We all should want to tax the rich, right? So why is it that our neighbors are so slow to the party, right? And it's because we have to reframe this. We have the Epstein class, all right? That's not even the big business class. We are talking about the class even above that. All right, those are the people that their wealth hoarding. They are hoarding more wealth than they can ever even spend. And you want to know why? Because they want to hurt you. Like that's, we're not in the era of the Rockefellers where they're building up and they're building their legacies anymore. It's like Mr. Crockett said, there was a time in this country when the highest tax rate was 90%. Guess when we grew the most? When the tax rate was at 90%. Okay? So we have to start remessaging this. And so when we talk about taxing the rich, we're not even talking about taxing millionaires, guys with $10 million, your big business owners. Guys, let's start with the top. All right? Let's start with the ones that are at the very top, and let's say, you know what, if you're going to go past this point, let's tax them at 90% again. Because there is no sense in the American people supplementing the nutrition and the housing and the health care for Jeff Bezos' employees while he has 4 mega yachts. Guys, we are a broken system. Let's fix it. And guess what? If we talk to our neighbors, I think we can get them to focus on that.
So we're at the part now where we're all just kind of coming off the cuff now, so should be fun. We absolutely need to tax the rich, and on our website we'll actually be having our tax policy plan revealed that balances taxes for everyday Americans, reducing your everyday American tax burden, while we start to really ramp up the taxes past $10 million on people who make more and more and more in the system. Our system is not working. We have billionaires that onto themselves have each of them become essentially a bond villain. They have way too much power and wealth in this nation. They're breaking our future, and they are stealing it from us as well. It is why our communities don't get the support that they deserve. It is why people get left behind, because we are catering to these folks that do not need to be catered to. I would probably support beyond just taxing higher incomes higher, but we likely need to look at, for our billionaires, a wealth tax, because they are getting taxed. They have just too much money. And if we want America to survive, where everyday Americans actually get the opportunity to live the life they want to live, where we have the ability to build the infrastructure, to be able to do the future that we've always believed we should have, we have to tax these people. They cannot have this power and wealth. They should not be more powerful than a nation. They need to be brought back down to reality, back down to here with us.
Something real quick. Do we get rebuttals for this? It's not a rebuttal, but I just wanted to add something.
I have a statement back here that I'd like to make. So we talk about abstract numbers all the time, million, billion, trillion, blah, blah, blah. But do we really have a mental perception of how much money that actually is? You would have to live 75 years spending $25 a minute to spend $1 billion. Elon Musk is worth what now? 800 and we're literally letting them rob us blind, people, and we need to review the numbers. That's where the truth lies.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly where it's at. Is it quick?
Citizens United. Citizens United was passed. The power in this country went to corporations and the ultra rich. Okay? They're pulling the strings on just about everybody in Congress, and I guarantee if you get in Congress, they'll be knocking on your doorstep, wanting to do the very same thing with you. Re-election at this point in time is just so ridiculous in the amount of money that has to be raised to get re-elected. And congressmen get re-elected every 2 years, so it means from day one when they walk in that office, their primary thing is they have to keep raising money to get re-elected. Citizens United needs to be done away with.
Yes. Yes.
Hello, I'm sorry, I have to say something. A lot of you know who I am. I gotta say, let's see, I think I'm on my 9th organized protest in this town. So I'm City Bro, and I gotta say, I said, I'm listening to a lot of stuff. we have protested a lot of stuff, all of us. And I appreciate everybody's support in coming out and doing that. However, I mean, you're talking about billionaires. As a lawyer, there are a lot of things that have to happen in Washington. There's a lot of lawyers there, and there's a lot of laws and a lot of votes that have to change things. But there's a lot of background information that a lot of you don't know. Let me give you some examples. Doge. Elon Musk sold that information.
No, let us finish up. One more, we got time for more questions. Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
I lost control. Okay, one more audience question. Will you put guardrails on AI?
Well, I think that there's something that maybe we talked about AI as far as the threat to surveillance and the threat to and how it's used in war. But we also need to talk about it is a scary thing to be a woman in a world where AI can do what AI can do. And I'm just going to speak real honest with you right now. The burden that we are raising young girls into where they can be manipulated and their images are, the way children are parents put children online and put their images online, thinking they're sharing it with their grandparents and their loved ones, and they end up in the worst possible images imaginable. That is something that, we talk about the threat of war and surveillance, but the threat of the actual human contact to AI, it is huge. The other aspect that we're seeing, and we're starting to see this more and more now, is organizations and corporations are starting to use AI for dynamic pricing. And so you'll even go into your local grocery stores and you'll start to notice that they're changing all of the tags to digital tags. That's so they can use AI and they can adjust the prices based on trends and things. So let's say, and I kid you not, they can use these models to predict weather events and then raise the prices on emergency supplies. Yeah. Like that is the the technology that these people are creating are intentionally being used to harm us. And so I absolutely, fundamentally would support guardrails on AI. We have to do it.
So, yes, there's a lot of problems with AI rollout as it is today. As a software engineer, I've worked with AI. There are use cases where it's useful in the medical field and a few other places. There are places where LLMs can be useful. But as what we're seeing as we race towards this future, which is essentially Blade Runner or Cyberpunk, where American people are left behind and our system is shattered because these corporations gain more and more control, AI presents a very real threat. We have the possibility to be automating our jobs away. We have the possibility, as what Joy just said, about online images and generation of content where we start to no longer have a shared reality of what is true and what's not anymore. It becomes harder and harder. I 100% support guardrails on AI and have some ideas on how we would go about it. We need to be able to have AI technology completely labeled, kind of like when you go to a movie, you have a rating on it. There needs to be a rating on how much information was made with AI. From the large language model creators like Anthropic, OpenAI, and others, the data that they use to train the AI needs to be forced into the public so that way we can do a systematic review to verify how much of this information was stolen and copyrighted material. We have to have a lot more guardrails around it. A lot of these companies don't even know how to make a safe AI. They're literally experimenting with it as they go. And while I do not think the technology as it is today is ever going to get to a super intelligence level, they are trying to do that because the goal is to replace everything with AI, to have big tech own everything in our society, and that is completely unacceptable. We have to take that head on.
So I think the question kind of has to do with regulation, and yes, I would be for more regulation or legislation regarding AI, because I mean it just doesn't make any sense to allow a technology to just so far outpace the law itself. And what Joy was talking about, I think, goes over to the Fourth Amendment and protecting people's images and that sort of thing. But Republicans want to say they're not for regulation. They say, oh, too much regulation. But they want to regulate stuff. They want to regulate, whether you change your sex. They want to regulate who you sleep with. They want to regulate those personal behaviors, but they don't want to regulate the things that matter. And Donald Trump is the worst of all. I mean, he wants to regulate. I mean, he thinks he should be able to run for office with 32 felonies, but a transgender person can't run a 100-yard dash.
Tell me about it.
He thinks he can name the Gulf of Mexico, but if you want to call yourself he, you can't do that. He wants to be able to regulate the schools, the courts, the House of Representatives. He wants to be able to control all of those things, but he doesn't want a woman to be able to control her own body. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Okay, we have come to the end of our question and answer period, so now we'll give the candidates an opportunity to have a closing statement. And so we were, Adam's going to be first.
Thank you. So in all these years, what has Morgan Griffith done? What resources has he delivered for Southwest Virginia? Who has he even listened to? Griffith is beholden to corporate interests over the needs of everyday Americans. Under Griffith, Southwest Virginia has been unheard, neglected, exploited, and ultimately depopulated. As I have been revisiting all of Southwest Virginia, I have been listening. This is my full-time job now, focusing solely on hearing your voices and sharing your perspective in our campaign. And through that, we have expanded our platform to take local issues and to make them into a federal priority. Whether that means expanding rural healthcare access to all of our counties, whether that means completing road and bridge infrastructure, or the airport in Grundy, or finishing rural broadband throughout all of our district, I have been listening. This election is about building a movement in which every person in Southwest Virginia gets seen and heard. And in bringing your government back to you to hear your voice in Washington, not the whims of a party or a donor. That is why I'm here today, running on your vision for the future, to deliver for Southwest Virginia. It requires us to hold the rich and powerful to account. This is not a fight between the left or the right. This is a fight between the ultra-wealthy and the Epstein class versus everybody else. And as this movement unites Americans in Southwest Virginia together, we will build that future together. Our fight starts with the people here. Those of you in this room, all of the people of Southwest Virginia, standing up and with one loud voice, demanding a future we all deserve.
In my opening, I started out talking about where we are today and how we're worse off than we were when Donald Trump took office. And, we would be even, Morgan Griffith hasn't done anything to help. And Donald Trump has made things worse, and we are where we are, fortunately, no worse than we are, due to no help from Morgan Griffith. So, but now is the time, folks. Now is the time. Morgan Griffith, what I can tell, is an insignificant politician and an insignificant representative with a huge PR campaign. He takes credit for everything coming and going. He has lots of money. If we're going to defeat him in November, we're going to have to be able to compete with that. So now is the time. Don't wait another month. You've sat and you've listened to all three of us. Pick somebody. If you can't pick somebody, support more than one person. Go to our campaign website, donate some money, volunteer, sign up, give your email address. We're going to need that. We have to start now. We have to start today. Talk the person up. Share them on Facebook. Talk about it. We've got to get this. We need to create a mindful majority, not just Democrats, but Republicans too. People who are awake. The reason Donald Trump talks about being woke is he don't want people to wake up. We want people to be awake, attentive, and demanding of their representatives more than nonsense. You know, I appreciate this opportunity. This is a great experience, but it's also sort of depressing. When you look at all these issues and just get them all into your head, it's like, oh my goodness, where in the world are we? And you've been in that place. You don't have to be a great religious person just to say, God help us. Every time I say that nowadays, God answers me. He says, you help me. He's there. You help us. Help us. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you again for being here tonight. This has been a really great opportunity to get to hear. Honestly, it's reaffirming to see how much of the democratic values the three of us do share. And I think that is it's a testament to where our priorities are in Southwest Virginia. You know, I see my friend here on the first row, and she will be the first person to tell us that the path forward and the path to victory in this district is not in rooms of Democrats, if we're honest. If we're going to win this race, if we're going to make serious moves in this district, we have to go into the hard spaces and have the hard conversations. And I'm here to tell you, I've been doing that my entire life. I grew up at a bipartisan kitchen table. My mom was I never voted for that man conservative. I grew up from a Southern Democrat dad. I served on our local county ag board. You want to guess how many Democrats appointed me to that board, guys? I've been working with Republicans my entire life to get things done. I grew up in church, and I understand and I can speak to the fact that they are using our faith as a weapon, and they are using it falsely, because somebody's got to go in those spaces and have that conversation. I worked in the firearm industry for 2 years. So when I can text that down and I can talk about the loopholes in our gun laws, it was because I was the person that the state police called and said, hold that criminal until we get there. Guys, I know how much you care, because that's how much I care. This is my home too. I am raising a 6-year-old, beautiful, bright, black young man that I adopted from foster care. That young man will inherit the generational wealth that he has owed from my family. But you know what? The way Donald Trump's going, he is making this state, this district in our country less safe for him. And so that is what I promise you, is I will fight for your family just as hard as I will fight for my family's future in this district.
It is why we asked everyone to be here, but Doug made a good point. One of the things we need to win elections is support in all kinds of forms, including monetary support. If you are interested and able to donate to the candidates, you can do that through AgBlue. They all have on their websites. They have links. And there's some things that I want everybody to be aware of to meet the Federal Election Commission requirements. That they cannot take anonymous contributions. They need your name, they need your occupation. I believe we need your address, and they need a verification there that you're a U.S. citizen. So, they all need that because that's a federal requirement for reporting requirement. Okay, next. I like to tell him a lot of things. Okay. Now I'm going to get Rebecca Daly, who's the head of the 9th Congressional District Democratic Committee, has a couple of things to talk about with us.
Hi everybody. I'm just going to take a couple minutes of your time to talk about redistricting. There's a lot of bad mailers being sent out, racial mailers being sent out by a Republican PAC. There was one sent out that people got today that has Abigail Spanberger saying she does not support the redistricting, that she wants you to vote no. You need to be very careful what you're looking at, look who it comes from. I can assure you Governor Spanberger stands behind redistricting, right? We're the district that's gonna take the hit, folks. I get that. What we will get out of this, if we vote yes, is 2 things. Stop Trump, the biggest thing. The second thing is, we're gonna have a rural powerhouse because we will add to our 28 regular committees, 9 more committees. We will have about a third of Virginia in our district. I will also tell you, you saw Zara Johnson earlier, we have 7 young Democrats groups in Southwest Virginia. We have another one coming up. And I will tell you that most of us don't agree with gerrymandering, which is why the Democrats at a federal level tried to end it a few years ago. The Republicans voted against it. I had a hard time with this in the beginning, I have to tell you, because of the hit we're going to take in the ninth, but the bottom line is this. I don't know any other way to stop Trump. It's that simple. So please talk to your friends, talk to everyone you know. Right now the numbers do not look good in our district. They're turning out way more than we are. So everyone needs to vote. The second thing is, I have a table right outside the store here. If you have not signed ballot petitions for these 3 candidates, as well as Senator Warner and Loretta Daniels, who's also running for the Senate, I have clipboards out here. They are in need of signatures. If you could take the time to do that before you leave, that would be great. And finally, just thank you all. This was amazing. Thanks to the Carroll County Committee. Thanks to the candidates. And please, and I will tell you this, I wear a lot of titles. My favorite one is activist. I'm one of those people who puts in 50 hours a week. So if you can help in any way, writing a postcard, knocking on the door, making a phone call to help us win this thing. I have redistricting yard signs right out here outside the door as well. Please pick one up on your way out. Thank you for all you do. Help us win this. Thanks.